Welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. Are you ready to discover some niche business ideas that actually work? Well, it's time for a motivational kick to jumpstart your next big idea. Here's your host, Spencer Haas.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Niche Pursuits Podcast. I'm excited to introduce to you Marcus Sheridan, an entrepreneur that started in the pool business and then became an expert in content marketing. Marcus has an interesting story to tell because he was able to effectively harness the power of the internet to grow his business. I'm excited to discuss with Marcus how online marketing has changed his business, how it can help your business, and what he's up to now. Marcus, welcome to the show.
Spencer, what's up, man? It's a pleasure to be here, and really excited to talk to your crowd of people. And as a new podcaster myself now, I love the whole podcast vibe, man. So the fact that you can be driving down the road with somebody while they're headed to work is just cool to me. I just love it to death. So pleasure, my man, pleasure.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to have you on here as well. It's always good to hear your voice in addition to reading your blog. And I have been reading your blog. I wanted to have you on the podcast today because I'm fascinated with your story, how you've been able to harness the power of the internet, use content marketing to grow your traditional business, if you will. And so I want to dig into that story a little bit. But first, tell me about your background. What sort of schooling and work experience did you have before you ever got involved in the pool business?
You know, it's funny. I have no business background, and some people might say I have no business being in business, I guess. But honestly, I was in high school. I was just like that jock guy that enjoyed playing the sports. I think I had a 2.5 GPA, and then my uncle owned a townhouse next to the football stadium at West Virginia University, and he told me, he said, "Hey, you know, if you want to come to college here, you can. You're welcome to do so." And I was like, "Great! My grades don't need to be that high to get there. I love football. Done." So I became a West Virginia Mountaineer, and during that process, I was in Chile for 2 years for a mission of my church, and I learned Spanish. And when I got back, I was so ready to graduate college that I just was like, what can I hurry up and do to graduate? And my answer was take Spanish. And so I got a major in foreign language.
Okay.
When I was in college. I got out of college and I was working in Northern Virginia near DC for what was like a supplemental education company for youth. And I didn't really like it very much. I loved teaching, but I just, for whatever reason, this company structure I didn't like very much. And so to make a long story short, after like a month out of being out of college and at this job, I was like, this ain't a good fit. My wife didn't like it either. I was already married. And so I was back at my hometown in the boonies of the northern neck of Virginia. It's really just very rural. And I had two buddies. They just started this swimming pool company out of the back of a pickup truck, and had been open for like a couple months, and then they were just getting ready to sign a lease for this rundown rinky-dink retail store, and they needed somebody to run it while they were out in the field installing swimming pools. And they said, "Hey, Marcus, will you do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, until I'm find whatever else the heck I'm going to do. This sounds like a good gap filler." Make a long story short, that was in 2001, so it was like 11 plus years ago. I ended up becoming a partner with them, and the company started to grow, but we hit the skids in 2008 when the economy crashed, and the way people buy swimming pools, and we specialize in in-ground fiberglass swimming pools, and we needed to, by 2008, in order to have a successful year, Spencer, we had to do about 80 in-ground pools a year. And so the economy crashed. People couldn't get loans for swimming pools, and nobody was really shopping for swimming pools. We were literally on the brink. In fact, by January of 2009, I'd gone through a stretch where I was overdrawn in my bank account for 3 straight weeks. and everybody was telling me, you need to just close the doors, you need to go out of business, y'all never going to get through this. It was during that time that I discovered and really started reading about social media, and mainly my focus where I was reading was inbound and content marketing, those two phrases that you hear so much, right? And so I started embracing that mentality of, all right, so what you're telling me here from what I'm reading is that if I'm a great teacher and if I am willing to address the questions that consumers have about swimming pools, and specifically in my case, fiberglass swimming pools, on my website, then I'm going to be successful. So what I did is I brainstormed every single question that I'd ever received from a client over the years, 10 years in the business or 8 years at that time. I wrote them all down, and then I made each one of those questions the title of a blog post. Nothing scientific about it. Heck, I was using no keyword Google tools, anything tools at the time. And I just was writing out these questions. I was answering them. And of course, as you well know, the long tails just killed it from an SEO standpoint, and I started generating a ton of traffic, a ton of trust. The website blew up, and to make a longer story even longer, today it's the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world. And we do very, very well. It saved our business. Content marketing saved my business, saved my home, and changed my life. And I'm really grateful for it. And so that's the really, really quick story of how I got into all this, man.
Yeah, I love that story because you literally were on the brink. You were about to go out of business. You really had no other option. Either go out of business or try something different. And luckily you tried something different. And that was content marketing, and it worked very well. So maybe you can give us an idea. I mean, what were you doing in the business? You talked about that you were manning the retail store, but from my take, you were sort of involved in every aspect of the business. Is that right?
Well, I was heavily involved in sales.
Okay.
And so I was the one who was constantly going to homeowners' houses, hearing them ask me the same questions over and over again on every single sales appointment. And eventually I was like, this is so stupid. Why do I keep answering the same questions over and over again? How come I'm not preparing our clients beforehand? And I see what's happening here. Everybody's going online. They're doing all their research. They're asking all these questions online. No pool guys are answering these questions because they're too busy digging holes. So I'm like, why not me? So between the fact I was in sales, retail, and in-home sales, and the fact that I was constantly hearing homeowners, I literally just listened so well that I said my golden rule, and it's still my golden rule today. It's the golden rule that I teach every company that I go speak to and work with, and that is they ask, you answer. If the customer, the client has ever asked the question, I think we owe it to them to answer it, and we should answer it in digital form, starting with our website. And if we do that, we're going to be very successful, because the fact is, no matter what anybody tells you, around 97, 98% of all industries are still wide open, Spencer, when it comes to producing content in a way that is addressing the questions that consumers have and thinking exactly like a consumer thinks.
Yeah, and that's a point obviously that you make a lot, and I wanted to bring out here is that you knew your swimming pool business very well. You were talking with your customers face to face. You knew exactly what they were thinking. And so that's what us as business owners in our own business can do is make sure we're well educated and well tapped into what our customers are thinking about, what they're searching for, what they're asking. And that's really how we can take our marketing to the next level, is directly answering those questions. And so
the problem is, though, Spencer, is we screw this up, though. We all suffer from our own sense of the curse of knowledge. And so I deal with this so much. We, as a business owner or as an employee of a company or something like that, we tend to think about the stuff that we do differently than somebody that is ignorant of our stuff, right? So, for example, we use really stupid acronyms. You see it all the time in the world of marketing. Like, how many people really know what affiliate marketing is outside the realm of affiliate marketing? Most people don't.
Right.
If you say the phrase in the world, 98% of people don't know what the word or words affiliate marketing mean if you ask them. And you can ask smart people like doctors and lawyers. They still don't really understand what affiliate marketing means. Why is that? We naturally assume that they know that. So what are the phrases that they're using? This is applicable to swimming pools. It's applicable to just about anything, any business out there. Pat Flynn, who I know you know, I like Pat a
Right.
lot, got a great podcast. But one time Pat said, and as a title for one of his blog posts, I thought it was great. He said, "It's dumb not to dumb it down." One of the best blog titles
Nice.
I've ever seen. And I say that to this day. I happily steal it from Pat because it is so stupid not to dumb these things down in a way that people will understand them. The goal is not to be the college professor. The goal is to be the elementary school teacher where we're explaining things in such a way that anybody could understand it. And oh, by the way, Google and the search engines appreciate the kindergarten teacher way more than they appreciate the college professor.
All right, let's get real here, Marcus. I mean, you're acting like all you have to do is write some articles that answer some questions, but really, I mean, what sort of special tactics were you using to link build and rank in Google? There's got to be some secret sauce that you have there, right?
I honestly, I'm like the anti-secret sauce, and I don't think I can't. I think one of the biggest problems that businesses have is the fact that they think their sauce is secret when in reality everybody knows it's just Thousand Island dressing. I don't understand. Like we always like to hide our stuff and act like it. There's nothing special, generally speaking, about everything that everybody does. We just need to be willing to talk about it. What if you want to if you really want to call it special or secret, the secret is having the ability to think exactly like a consumer and then answer their questions, right? And so a perfect example of this is in my industry, in the fiberglass pool industry. Nobody ever addressed the single question, how much does a fiberglass pool cost, on their website? And you already know the reason why. It's because swimming pools range in costs, and they're afraid to talk about costs on their website because they're afraid the competitor's going to see their prices. They're afraid they're going to scare people off. They're afraid. Well, you never base marketing decisions on fear. That's stupid. We base marketing decisions on what do people want to know about, and are we going to teach it to them or not? If the answer is yes, we're going to teach about it. We're not going to ignore the questions that they have. The first article that I wrote when I started to understand the principle of content marketing and becoming a great teacher was, how much does a fiberglass pool cost? Out of thousands of swimming pool companies, Spencer, I was the first guy that wrote that article. And today, to this day, I'm number one for almost every single fiberglass pool cost, in-ground pool cost related phrase that you can think of, certainly on the first page of Google. That one single article that I've been able to track, because I used advanced analytics, of course, of people that have filled out forms that have come into my website from that one keyword phrase, that one article using keywords related to fiberglass pool costs, prices, etc. I've made $1.2 million in sales off of that one single article. My swimming pool company blog alone, in terms of sales generated at this point, minimum that I can track, minimum, is well over $3 million in sales. And people say, well, that's swimming pools. That doesn't apply to me. And that's the craziest, dumbest thing that anybody can say that's listening to this. If you've been listening to this and you say, well, he's a pool guy, it doesn't apply to me. Look, it doesn't matter if you're B2B, B2C, which, by the way, those are acronyms that nobody knows either. Business to business, business to consumer, we act like we understand them, but most of the world doesn't know what those. You ask a solopreneur that's just Billy Bob's tree service, if he knows what a B2C is, he won't be able to tell you that he's a B2C. He has no idea because he doesn't know what the phrase means. Totally. But that's a side tangent, and I tend to go on those a lot. You already figured that out, Spencer. But the thing about it is that, dude, if we can really think like that. For example, you wrote an article the other day, dead on, Market Samurai versus Longtail Pro.
Yep.
That is classic case of what a consumer would type in like me if I wanted to buy a tool that could help me with long tail phrases to write about with my content marketing. Maybe arguably the two best out there right now is Longtail Pro and Market Samurai in terms of what people are buying.
Mm-hmm.
And so a smart business, a manufacturer in this case, let's call you're the B to C here. You're the B in the B to C.
Right.
You're thinking like a consumer. But a lot of people, you think Chevrolet. I got an argument one time with the guy who I like, Scott Monty, great guy, who is the head of social media at Ford Motor Company. And I told him, I just said, man, your blog's not very good. And he didn't like that. And I said, well, it's not very good because it doesn't answer questions that I have if I wanted to buy a Ford. So, for example, if I type in right now online, Ford Mustang versus Chevy Camaro, which is better, which is a very common phrase because how many people want to buy an American sports car? It's coming down to those two. Well, I mean, that's a boatload, right?
Right.
Well, Ford ain't showing up for that phrase, brother. And that's crazy. That's a beautiful, easy versus long tail phrase that consumers are typing in. They're not even close to showing up. And it's because they haven't addressed the question. They're allowing other companies to address the question. And that's like crazy to me because I want to address every question because I want you on my website, not somebody else's.
Yeah, and in the meantime, in your automotive example, they're paying, $5, $10 a click sometimes and even more for leads where they could have just addressed that in their content marketing and gotten those leads for free because they would be ranking in Google. Now, my previous question, of course, is a little bit sarcastic with the link building and the secret sauce there. I got
to talk about link building. I have never tried to build a link.
Go ahead.
We have thousands and thousands and thousands of links going into river pools and spas because we did, and to SalesLine too, my marketing site. Mm-hmm. I've got tons and tons of links, and I've honestly never once tried to do any link building in my life. But I do believe that the only link building system that is built to last, that will withstand every algorithm from now and every stupid animal that starts with a P that we can think of from now until the end of time, is that we are truly addressing the questions that consumers have the way they type them into the search engines.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, not only because that will be great information for the consumer when they land on your site, but because you're typing in those specific phrases, you're more likely to match that within your title, which, as we all know, is going to make you more likely to rank at the top of Google. So I totally agree with that. And just as a side note as well, for my blog, nichepursuits.com, I've never built a single link to that either. And it does very well in the search engines for different phrases. I will have to say that, I come from a background of building niche sites or affiliate sites or AdSense sites, whatever you want to call those, where I have done a lot of link building. And it's more likely that those sites will get penalized than my site of Niche Pursuits because it's purely informational and the links coming to it are all 100% natural. So I did just want to clarify that point or have you at least address that point of link building because a lot of people listening to my podcast here are interested in that information. So that's good to hear. Now, specifically on the amount of content that you had on your pool site, how much content did you have on there before you really started to see many leads or much traffic?
When I started producing content, the day I made the decision to do it, Spencer, I was like every swimming pool company, and in that I had about 20 pages to my website. So it's about 20 pages. Mm-hmm. Today, the number of index pages on my site is around 850. And what's so interesting, Spencer, is I've talked about this in some of my different writings, is when I studied our analytics, I found that there was a definitive tipping point for trust, that if I could get somebody to reach a certain amount of page views, the likelihood that they would become a customer skyrocketed. And I call that a content marketing tipping point. And just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about is in 2012, right now, the average customer that has bought a swimming pool from River Pools has read about 105 pages of the site.
Wow.
Now, when I tell that to people in the swimming pool industry, they're like, no way. Nobody would ever read 100 pages of a website. And I'm thinking to myself, you're a fool to think that, because here's what's happened over the last few years. We've all grown terribly impatient online. If we cannot find the answer that we are looking for, and if we can't find it quick, we bounce. So we
Yep.
don't have patience. All of us have grown incredibly impatient, and none of us have taken a class on this, but yet we've all grown very impatient. At the same time, though, Spencer, we've all grown way more loyal when we find the information jackpot. If we find that one site that just teaches us and answers those questions better than any site that we've found in that particular realm, boy, we are loyal and we will stay for hours. I have people that have read over 500 pages of my swimming pool site. And let me tell you, when that happens, there ain't no sales going on there. I don't have to go in, my salespeople for the company don't have to go in and sell anything. It's
Right.
done. Just like if somebody comes to me and reads my ebook on the sales line, that ebook is 250 pages. So if somebody's looking for a content marketing consultant and they read the ebook first, there's no selling. I don't have to teach them anything. I don't have to sell them anything. They're just like, well, how much is it, Marcus? Just for you to come help my company, how much is it? Because we've already established such a deep relationship of trust, and we've never once talked ever. So people will consume as much great content as we're willing to give them. We just got to produce it first. Most industries and most business owners, they have no idea how much people will consume until it's produced and out there and being tracked. And then we're all like, holy moly, I had no idea. Well, yeah, you had no idea because it wasn't there.
Right. Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. That's it absolutely makes sense. And I think, and I don't know what company said this or where I heard this, but essentially that customers will buy when they're ready to buy. And so it's our job to be in front of them as much as possible, to provide them as much information as possible. And so no amount of sales calls or phone calls or whatever it may be is going to change their mind. We don't know what's going to change their mind. It may be a life event. It may be something that happened to somebody they know. But if we are there when they're ready to make a buying decision, then they're going to buy from us. And so that takes me to another question that I wanted to ask is about email marketing. Do you have, or did you have, a way of capturing the emails of subscribers, or was it just all information that they learned and they called when they were ready?
Yeah, great question. And so I'll use the two different businesses because River Pools is a product, the sales line is a service. And so with River Pools, as soon as anybody would fill out a form on the site, whether it was for a free ebook, to get a quote, to get a DVD, they all, of course, added to the list, and I was able to nurture those people even more with email. I
Right.
love email. I love email. The huge mistake that I made on the sales line, Spencer, I was dumb enough not to start collecting emails until November of 2011. That was like the dumbest thing ever. And I don't know why. I'm guessing, literally, I have no idea why. Because now
Maybe
the
it's the
list, from what
2.5
I see what it is,
GPA, something to do with that. I'm just
probably
kidding. I'm
that
just
must have
kidding.
been that's the West Virginia residual.
There you
I
go.
don't know what it is, man, but I really should have done that sooner. Today, of course, when anybody downloads the ebook on the sales line, they're added to the newsletter, and that list is dozens and dozens a day now, growing. And here's one thing I need to say about email, though. And this is a mistake that I see with almost every single business of any type, whether you're a solopreneur, whether you are a big business, I don't care what you are. And that is, we think about email marketing in terms of general lead nurturing and like sending out to our list, blah, blah, blah. But we don't think about it on an individual level. How many times have we sent out just a singular email to a singular person that said, "Hey, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. Jones, I'm just following up with you about what we talked about the other day. If you have any questions, give me a call." That's the stupidest email in the world. When I was a pool guy, and I still own the swimming pool company, by the way, other people run it. I have two partners that run it. I
Okay.
just now all I do is sales line. When I was a pool guy, I would always go on appointments and a couple of days later follow up with that stupid email. That's a breakup email. You might as well say, "Do you love me? Yes or no? I hope you said yes." It doesn't make any sense. Instead of doing that, what we need to do with our singular emails is we need to um, we should never ever send out an email without content. And so, for example, let's say Mr. Jones, I met with him the other day. Say, "Hey, Mr. Jones, we met the other day. You had a couple of concerns about this, this, and that." And I was thinking about it, and so I went back and we've written 2 blog articles, and we also have a video about that as well on our site. And I've included the links below. Make sure you check them out. I'm going to follow back up with you in a couple days to see what questions you have. So that email is 1,000 times better than the breakup email that we always end up sending to our
Absolutely.
prospects. And we just got to start doing it. I don't send emails out to somebody that I might be doing business with that does not include content. It's either got some blog articles on it, it's got some videos on it, it's got something, because I need to make sure that content is helping that individual move down the sales funnel closer to becoming an actual client. We cannot be passive about the way we use our content, and too many people are. They hope that people will check out their blog articles. I don't hope. I make sure they do. I put it out there in front of them. I identify what their problems are, their biggest needs are, and then tailor the content to that person and say, "Read this, check it out, make sure you give it a look, and then we're going to have a conversation about it." And then when they do, they're way better to work with, and they're way further advanced in the sales process.
Absolutely. Great advice there. No, that's perfect for the way people should be doing email and overall as part of their content marketing strategy. Now, I do want to shift gears just slightly here and talk about the saleslion.com. You say that is now your primary business. What is that site all about? What are you doing there?
Well, the sales line, if anybody really wants to get some frank, concise advice on inbound and content marketing, about running a business, building your brand, doing it in a digital format. I don't spend much time talking about Facebook because I'm not very good at Facebook. I don't spend a lot of time talking about Twitter. I spend a lot of time talking about we as teachers in our field, how to be the best in our field at what it is that we do. And the sales line has been around since November 2009. It does pretty well. It has a great, vibrant community. And if you come by, what you'll notice is when people leave comments, they really leave comments because we discuss, we like to push the envelope. I'm certainly contrarian at times because I think it's important to dispel myths out there, silly numbers that don't matter, and talk about the things that really, really do matter, that affect a business's bottom line. So that's what the sales line is about. And now people hire me, companies hire me, small and large, to come out and help them start a content marketing campaign that gets results. And I find myself really what I do is I help businesses think like their clients and then create content around those thoughts. That's really what I do.
Okay. No, that absolutely makes sense. So let's say that there was a small or maybe medium-sized landscaping business, for example, and they hired you. What are some of the first steps that you would take them through to develop a content marketing strategy? Maybe just some brief steps. What is it that you're teaching them to do?
Yeah, well, see, every time that landscaping guy goes on a sales appointment, he answers probably the same 10 to 15 questions. Those need to be the first articles that he writes for his blog. And he also needs to go ahead and once we write those, we'll convert them into an ebook. And that's going to start building our company list because we're going to give that away for free. But we're also going to send that ebook out to every single appointment before we go on the appointment. And we're going to ask Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner to read the ebook before we get there so that we can spend more time talking about what it is that they want versus the questions that they have, right? And so that's the first thing that I would do. And of course, if it was landscaping, I'd involve a lot of video content because it's such a visual product as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would create a lot of location-based content as well that helped from an SEO perspective. So, for example, let's say that you have a landscaping company and they are in, where do you live? Richland? Where do you live?
Richland, Washington. Yep.
Yeah, Richland, Washington, right? So let's say it's a landscaper in Richland, Washington. If I'm a consumer, I'm probably going to go online right now and type in who are the best landscapers in Richland, Washington. That's what I'm going to type in. Nobody's actually written that article right now. I know for a fact, I bet $1 million that nobody has written an article about who are the best landscapers in Richland, Washington. And that's one of the first articles that I would write with respect to location-based keyword phrases.
Mm-hmm.
So I love best of area-related phrases for local businesses because they do very, very well. So that's why if you type in who are the best swimming pool builders in Richmond, Virginia, who are the best swimming pool builders in Virginia Beach, who are the best swimming pool builders in Maryland, who are the best swimming pool builders in Baltimore, who are the best swimming pool builders in Northern Virginia, you're going to find different articles every time that are going to bring you to river pools and spas.
Nice. Absolutely. So you would write individual articles on each of those keywords so that you can be targeted as possible to the search query.
That's exactly right. And again, it comes back to I just think like a consumer and answer their questions. And because of that, I do very, very well. And that's usually the process that I go through with every business. But you know, the key there was immediately we take those consumer questions, immediately we produce the content and the answers, immediately we morph it together and make a nicer ebook out of it. Immediately we start using that to help us in the sales process because that's going to increase margins while decreasing the actual sales cycle, which is beautiful because they'll get less quotes because they're more informed by the time you get there, which means the sales rates go up, the closing rates go up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the power of content that most people don't tap into. Okay, so you wrote a blog article. You ain't done. Let's use that baby again and again and again with every prospect down the road and make sure they're reading that content. Let's get it out there in front of them, not leave it up to chance.
Yeah, no, that's some great advice, some things that I could be doing a little bit better in my own business, and I'm sure a lot of people out there listening could take as action in their business right now. Let's get a little bit more specific. How important are page titles, keyword research, and other on-page factors?
I think the number one SEO mistake in the world right now is poor titles, without question. And from a blogging standpoint, it is literally 9 out of 10 businesses jack their blog titles all up. And here is you can already tell this is one of my biggest pet peeves. You are not allowed to come up with witty blog titles until you have at least 1,000 subscribers. That's my rule of thumb. So don't tell me the one secret to affiliate marketing that nobody knows. Don't do that. Especially if you don't have subscribers. That's dumb. Because now you're trying to entice Google into reading your stuff and you've given it nothing to allow itself to rank you for. So the priority when we're doing this is people say, so you're telling me just title it just like a consumer would type it in? Yes, do that. How much does a fiberglass pool cost? Boom, title. That's it.
Yep.
You don't want to say something really all goofy and catchy and witty about, so is it going to cost you a lot to swim? No, stupid. How much does a fiberglass pool cost? Intelligent. Because that's the way that people type it in. right? And so we can't do that. I will write some wittier titles on the sales line, but only because I have a whole lot of subscribers, and only because it's more of a not more of, but it's a lot of social sharing in that realm. Most industries, Spencer, are not social.
Mm-hmm.
Most industries, I've got articles for my swimming pool company that have been read a few 100,000 times, and they've been tweeted once or twice, liked on Facebook once or twice. Why is that? It's because people ain't online bragging about how they just spent $50,000 on a pool. It's a private purchase.
Right.
They go and they research, they do a search query, they research, and they base what they click based on the page titles and based on the meta descriptions and based on the URLs, how we all do it. And I wish we had time to talk about it. But we've all gone to this school of search, and I love talking about the school of search that we've all gone to, and nobody realized it. We all look at page titles and have been able to we judge page titles, and we all do same sets of judgments, but nobody told us how to do that. We can all look at a URL and tell if it's a jacked up site or not, but nobody ever taught us how to do that. We can all look at a meta description and say, well, I like a meta description that looks like this versus one that looks like this. And nobody ever taught us how to do this. And that's why when I'm working with a client, I'm like, look, here's the deal. We got to nail our page titles, our meta descriptions, and our URLs because this stuff people see and the search engines see too. Even if meta descriptions don't necessarily affect SEO, they do affect click-through rate, and so we got to nail those as well.
Right.
When it comes to your actual article, answer it like you would if you were talking to a friend in the coffee shop. I'm not worried about your keyword phrases once we get into the article, but I do want you to nail from an SEO side page titles, URLs, and have a nice meta description that shows up well when it's in search. Does that make sense, Spencer? Am I making any sense?
You make complete sense, absolute sense. I think, and I totally agree. I mean, we all know that as far as on-page factors are concerned, the title of your post or your page title is going to be one of the strongest indicators that Google looks at to know what they should be ranking this page for. It just makes sense. Google is a robot. They're an engine, and they need to somehow convert their robot speak to human speak. And they do that through keywords. And so the page title is the number one thing that they're going to look at to know, hey, this page is about fiberglass pools, or, you know, how much do fiberglass pools cost? So, yeah, it makes absolute sense. And I know you drew. Go ahead.
And here's another thing. I got to have one more soapbox moment. When you read people online that say you should never pay attention to SEO and SEO structure, those people should have their social media license revoked for the next 20 years. Because the thing about it is, when they say that you can just tell. They're so blinded by the fact that they're in social media that they don't realize that most businesses, like I said a minute ago, are not socially shared businesses and industries. And the only way that you're going to really get great traffic over time is through organic search in a lot of industries. You think somebody that is a government contractor is going to be sharing on Facebook some silly government acronym that is halfway top secret? No, they don't do that. But they might go online and they might do a search query that has something to do with what they're looking for. And that's how it works on tons of industries. So the moment somebody tells a business, don't focus on SEO, that's the moment you know you found the wrong consultant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and shifting gears just a little bit again, we've talked about different industries, and in my mind, a lot of the physical products or local services, those really are untapped as far as SEO and businesses that are actively blogging or doing content marketing. But what about affiliate marketers? This seems, they don't own a product. It seems a little bit more crowded. Can they still build a business through content marketing? And if so, is it a little bit more difficult?
Well, I I think when somebody gets into affiliate marketing, and oftentimes the principle applies here the exact same that it would to quote unquote non-affiliate marketing. And I look at the CSI of the industry, which is the content saturation index. At least that's what I call it. Certain industries have a very low CSI. They're still very ripe for the taking. Certain industries have a very high CSI, like social media industries, because every marketing agency and every individual consultant person has a blog and they're talking about marketing. It's very hard to rank in those industries well
Mm-hmm.
because of the CSI being so high. But there's another slew of industries and a slew of keyword phrases that are wide open, And the cream always rises to the top. So when it comes to affiliate marketing, I still think content marketing is the most important means of doing it. I mean, I watch you and you're in a competitive industry and you
Mm-hmm.
are very targeted with the stuff that you're writing about. And I think that's awesome. Same thing, even on the sales line, where it's a very competitive industry. Because I think like a consumer, I've written about a lot of things and get a lot of leads let me give you one example. Okay. One example, because the principle applies to affiliate marketing. People ask me all the time, well, HubSpot versus WordPress, which is better? Well, they're actually two very, very different things. One is a web, it's a blog platform / website building platform. And one is a software that happens to have a, a blog platform, but it's got a ton of other stuff like analytics and keyword tools, blah, 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 right? And so HubSpot has never really written a whole lot about, their product versus WordPress. They've never targeted that phrase because they see it as two different things. But people come to me and say, Marcus, HubSpot versus WordPress, man, which is better? What should I use? And so that's why I wrote an article, HubSpot versus WordPress. Not because they're really in the same category, but I had to address the question that people were asking because they just didn't know. And it's the same thing with affiliate marketing. The first thing I do when it comes to affiliate marketing, if you haven't done this, you should. You've done it well, Spencer. Is that if you are selling a product and it's got competitors, you should compare that product with every single competitor. And then you should compare every competitor with every competitor. Let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're selling a Ford Mustang. You should do a Ford Mustang versus Chevy Camaro article, but then you should do Chevy Camaro versus the Mercedes such and such.
Mm-hmm.
Because anybody that is looking at sports cars now is going to be in your house, and you want them in your house. And so just like, let's say there's, going back to the Market Samurai Longtail Pro, there's other keyword tools out there. For example, in your case, Spencer, I don't know if you've done this or not, but you should not only compare Longtail Pro with Market Samurai, but you should compare Market Samurai with all of its competitors within your content, because those are clearly prospects that could be using your product, but there's a very good chance they just don't know about Longtail Pro because they're
Mm-hmm.
typing in a phrase that indicates they don't know about it.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
this
a
is very,
great
very
point.
applicable, to affiliate marketing. Very applicable because the principle is the same.
Awesome. Great advice, not only for me, but everybody listening out there. I absolutely agree that affiliate marketing, where some industries within affiliate marketing may be a little bit more competitive, by taking the advice that you've given here, they can find low competition keywords or phrases, taking a slightly different approach to be able to get that natural traffic as well. Now, I don't want to go on too much longer here, but do you have any other projects that you're working on right now that you'd like to tell us about?
Well, I would just say that I just launched a very unique product on the sales line, and it's called Easy Biz Blogging. And what it is, it's an interview-based format for content marketing and blogging, where essentially we help our clients brainstorm questions that their clients, their customers have, and then we set up a phone interview where over the course of an hour, we're going to have them answer 10 questions that they've already chosen. We record their answers, and then we transcribe those and turn them into blog posts. And so for the person, say it's a solopreneur or somebody that's a business owner that's just too busy, we've set it up so that you can, in 5 hours' time, you can have 50 blog posts done, and all you've done is talk. You don't have to type. And the cool thing is, unlike most blog outsourcing companies, you do not lose your voice. You don't lose your voice. And too often when we outsource our blog, we lose our voice. It doesn't sound like us, and it just is not very effective that way. There's a lot of people that don't like to write. There's a lot of people that don't have the time to write. There's a lot of people that are just aren't very good at writing. This addresses that problem, but now they can do it in their own voice. It's called Easy Biz Blogging. You can find it at the sales line. And of course, I would love for your listeners, if they've enjoyed anything that I've said, to get the free ebook that's on the sales line. It's a couple hundred pages long. It's called Inbound and Content Marketing Made Easy. It rocks. It changes lives. It changes businesses, and it's been downloaded thousands of times, literally all over the world. And it's like my pride and joy, that book there, Spencer. So those are the two main things, my man.
Absolutely. No, that's great. I can say that I have downloaded the free ebook. It is awesome. It has some great information, so definitely check that out. And I also love the idea behind Easy Biz Blogging that you've got going there, to take either local businesses or other business owners that don't have time but maybe understand the importance of content marketing. You're giving them a way to effectively do that. So I think that's a great service that you're offering there. So what's the best place that people should follow along with you at? Of course, there's the saleslion.com. Is there anywhere else that people should follow along with what you're doing?
Yeah, check out my podcast, if you would. It's called Mad Marketing with the Sales Lion. And of course, it's on iTunes. And I think you'll have a fun time, just like hopefully you did today. And you can hit me up on Twitter at the Sales Lion.
Awesome. Thanks. I appreciate your time. Any last parting words here for everybody?
I would just say, if there's any last parting words, is don't try to be a jack of all social media trades, because you'll just end up being a master of none. Find your focus. Go at it aggressively. Be great at one thing first. And if you're great at one thing first, then some of those other channels, those other platforms, those other things that are on your to-do list, they'll just naturally happen, and the leads will start to flow. But focus on being great at one thing.
Great advice. Thanks, Marcus. I love your story. I love all the awesome advice that you've given everyone here. I hope that they all go out and apply that to their own business. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome, Spencer. Take care, buddy.
Hey, thanks a lot.